Last Wednesday, the 26th of October, the CSU Council of Representatives voted to bring a complaint against the Chief Electoral Officer, Bram Goldstein. The motion asked the Judicial Board to determine the legitimacy of the current CEO and whether last year's CEO, Oliver Cohen, violated regulations in order to appoint his assistant, Mr. Goldstien, to the position. On Friday, October 28th, the Judicial Board met to review the CSU complaint against the CEO. The meeting started with Judicial Board member Nadim Kobeissi recusing himself from the ruling on this case.
Hi, Laura Beeston from The Link, and gentlemen from CUTV, and ladies from CUTV, and Morgan Pudwell from the CSU. I have an important announcement to make. I've gone through the Judicial Board appeal, which was submitted late and shouldn't be submitted late in the future. And I saw my name in there mentioned, and very reasonably and for good cause. And the reason it was mentioned is because I myself had applied for CEO previously, way before I even knew I would be on the Judicial Board, and I was actually the first applicant, apparently. The first applicant you have a record of, I think. And because of that, now that I'm judging this whole CEO debacle that I personally applied to beforehand, I think it would be a conflict of interest for me to be part of this judicial process. For obvious reasons, because should the Judicial Board end up firing Bram or something, then Bram will probably be like, oh, Nadim was involved in this, and it will call the entire Judicial Board's decision making into question, something which I don't want to happen. I should note for the press and media in this room that I do not have any intentions to reapplying to the CEO position, even if Bram is ousted from the CEO position.
Can you just explain which process we're following right now?
We're not following a specific process.
We're not following any process.
Well, okay, it's a deliberation process based on the complaint, but where we're not making our decision.
Is Bram's presentation today considered step 2?
No, because this isn't a hearing. We wouldn't make a final decision today. This kind of turned into something that looks like a hearing, but it's not going to be the official hearing, so we're not going to be able to make a final decision today on that basis.
So we're not following the fast track procedure, nor
we're following the fast track procedure in the event that we schedule a hearing, but there's also precedent for provisional case. So in the fast track procedure, the Judicial Board is allowed to make a decision based on the complaint.
So I'm confused as to why we're having this meeting if the complaint is here in paper form and in your inbox.
Because the meeting was just supposed to be for the members of the Judicial Board to discuss the complaint and decide whether or not to make a provisional decision based on that complaint.
I'm confused.
I know I know it's a bit confusing. It's just, sorry, go ahead.
It seems like there's no process being followed here, and I think that's incorrect. And I think that the fact that we're here in the first place is because process wasn't followed, or because process was potentially not followed. And for us to be embarking in some sort of preliminary, unofficial hearing, meeting, for the Judicial Board to be conversing with someone before we even filed the complaint. But you don't schedule a hearing until step 2, step 3, step 4 has been followed.
Right, but...
And I've not seen his response, therefore step 2 has not been followed. Therefore, okay. I cannot possibly continue on to step 3, and then he cannot continue on to step 4, and you cannot possibly call the hearing.
Okay, but in the event that we do call a hearing, those steps will have to take place before the hearing.
Right.
But this isn't a hearing. So this is just a meeting of the Judicial Board that people were invited to attend if they had specific concerns, like you do, about the process and things like that. And then Bram is here. Okay, we're going to ask him questions more about his availability, but if you're really uncomfortable with that, then I understand, and we can not hear from anybody during this meeting. I'm totally okay with that.
I'm very uncomfortable with us proceeding in any way other than outlined in the Code of Procedures. In this meeting, the Judicial Board will be speaking of the complaint and the complaint only, because that's all the documentation that they have received.
Yes, although I would like to point out that allowing Bram to respond briefly to the complaint isn't completely outside the boundary of the Code of Procedures, because Bram is not the respondent in the complaint and he's an interested party.
Okay. And so the interested party does not have to follow any procedure or submit any written complaint. They can speak to the Judicial Board whenever they like.
For example, just asking Bram if he would have evidence to present in the event of a hearing, to determine whether or not it was possible.
That's not how the process works. The fast track procedure is you get the complaint, you read it, and you make a decision. If he's unhappy with the decision, if anyone's unhappy with the decision, they have the ability to appeal it. But there's no process of going to them and asking them if they have evidence in the fast track process. And in the long-term form process, it's a very clear step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. It's not a talk about would you like to accept step 2, how good is your evidence, like those sorts of things don't exist. It's you get a chance to respond and you either respond or you don't.
Okay. Yeah, I understand where you're coming from, and so we're going to just move this back into a meeting without having people speak.
I was informed that there was some kind of payment made to the party in question, that's Mr. Goldstein, and I'm wondering, it said on that specifically for Judicial Board purposes. I want to know what that was for.
I don't know anything about that.
So what kind of implication did Mr. Goldstein have with the Judicial Board, and why was there a payment made, and why did it say Judicial Board? Because I think you're in a bit of a, I would like to know on this.
Yeah, absolutely. I did my job last year. I worked very hard, and Oliver gave me a bonus. I got paid for the work I did. It came to my attention for the first time that there was the word Judicial Board on some receipt or whatever. When I had spoken to Oliver, I asked him, what's that all about? And he said, to justify your bonus, I listed all the things that you did, all the work that you did, and included in that, I even said, he cared so much and that he even showed up at the Judicial Board. That's all it was. That's literally all it was. And if
so you got paid to?
No, I didn't get paid
to.
No, I didn't get paid for that. He just listed that as one of the reasons to validate a bonus. It had nothing to do with me going to the Judicial Board. I didn't say a word in the Judicial Board. I didn't know what was going on. Literally, Oliver called me and said, by the way, man, I just want to give you a heads up. There's going to be a Judicial Board meeting. I didn't even know this. I didn't know what's going on behind the scenes, like in the depth that Oliver did and whatever. And he said, if you want to show up, it might be a good idea just to see how things work and whatever. If you ever want to apply for CEO and or whatever it is, like you might want to be there to see how things went. I showed up. I sat in the corner. I kept my mouth shut the whole time. And he just listed it as one of the reasons why, not because I was there and because I helped out the Judicial Board or anything like that. It was just a point as to validate a bonus, That's all it was.
Mm-hmm.
Like people are construing this as I got paid because maybe I helped them out. I have nothing to do with that.
If there is any question about the way the elections are happening,
sure.
Where is your good faith in saying, wait a second, people put in question this whole process. Why can you not show the good faith of recusing yourself for this institution, which is the student union, and for the process of a fair election?
Okay,
because if there is doubt on the election process and on your appointment of this, I'm wondering why you're not showing good faith. It would be a good idea for you to show good faith and to recuse yourself for this process.
Put my job
for
at
this process, because we're running, there's referendum questions being put on the thing.
I know.
On the question. We paid the price before. I'm from the Concordia Student Broadcasting Corporation. We're the mother organization of 2 stations here on campus, 2 of which were both going to referendum this time. We paid the price last time with CJLO because of the problems in the procedure in the elections. I don't think it's responsible for anyone here to continue this delegitimizing of our democratic processes, which is the highest one, elections and referenda,
I was
in our
elected
student
democratically.
union, in this whole university, actually.
He told us right now on the camera basically that the ex-CEO wanted to give him a bonus, and in order to find a line for it to be paid somehow,
That's not what I said.
he took
That's
it
not what I
out
said.
of the budget line
Incorrect. That's not what I
of
said.
the Judicial Board. This is what he said on camera.
Incorrect.
In order for him to find somewhere to justify it
No.
as a cost.
No, it was
because
one
he had
point.
to otherwise
It was one
go
point.
into the council and ask for a bonus for this employee of the union. And he did not do so. He went and put it under a line of your Judicial Board and paid him directly.
Okay.
So it is a clear violation, I think, financial violation. Okay, of I mean, like now it's there's nothing. If he may have deserved a bonus, that's not the issue. But he would have had to go through the regular process of asking for a bonus for an employee, and he scammed the system.
I scammed the system?
No, not you, the CEO, the CEO before you. So now he's implicated in a financial scandal.
I did a lot of work.
Okay, yes. We're not hearing from Bram, we're not hearing from Morgan, we're going into closed session. No, she brought up a good point about the procedure, like, I'm sorry, but we're going into closed session to discuss the complaint.
Why am I here?
Because they made a mistake in procedure.
We
That's
made a
why.
procedural mistake, I'm sorry, like, thank you for coming, I'm sorry, but, like, we can't hear from you, so.
Fine.
Bram, if you would like to see the receipt, I can show you.
Yeah, I want to see what it is. This is. Why are you guys even digging through this stuff? To me, this is all very fishy. The fact that you're even digging through this isn't showing good faith. It's showing that you're trying to get me out of here, reopen the hiring process. Your job, not your job. Your job is to work with this. This is crazy. Really disappointed. Gotta be honest, Morgan. This is nonsense. Guys, can I have a talk with her without the media? You know all the rules, and maybe I don't. I have no idea what to do. Well, I don't know anything about it, so you have to speak all of it. I got a bonus for Would you admit that I did a lot of hard work last year? I busted my ass. Can you admit that? I was there, wasn't there? I worked my ass off, and I got paid. I don't know why that's in there.
And so you were also paid for this work. That's all I have to say is like, this is what you were paid for on paper. And I don't know what Oliver told you, and I'm sorry if he told you something different, but this is on paper what you were paid for. This is what your check was written for.
You guys obviously, you guys didn't discover this until 26. 5 o'clock when I was there.
The Judicial Board will be rendering a decision in the matter of the complaint on Tuesday, November 1st. The board will be meeting at 6 o'clock in the afternoon at the CSU conference room located on the 7th floor of the whole building. Students are welcome to the hearings, and CUTV will be there filming. Watch later on our website for the latest update on the proceedings.
I don't understand. I don't get it, Morgan. I'm very disappointed with all of you.